All right, you guys, we are going to do gut health, all about gut health. For those of you who don't know me or are new to my page, my name is Melanie Murphy. I am a holistic dietitian out of Los Angeles. And I've been doing a lot of series around gut health recently. So if you guys have missed it, you're in the right place. I'm going to be talking a lot about it over the course of the next few videos. And I'm going to start today talking about the relationship between gut health and our immune system. So if you want to continue watching, just click on my IGTV or swipe up to learn more. So what is the gut's role in our immune health? So let's talk really quickly about what the gut even is. So we have intestines inside of our system, our large intestine and our small intestine, and they are all made up. The barrier of our system is made up of living organisms, and those living organisms are they can include bacteria, they can include viruses and fungi, and we actually need all of these things in the right amounts, in the perfect balance. We need all of them in our gut for a variety of things. In terms of immunity, when food enters our system, when particles from the air enter our system, whatever it may be, the living organisms that live in our gut actually will say to our body, to our immunity, yes, we recognize you. You're supposed to be here. Come on in, enter our body. Or no, we don't recognize you. You seem foreign. It feels like you might make us sick. Get out. And then we start, prompting our immune system to come in and fight whatever might not supposed to be there. So the living organisms, that's their first role in our immune system, is to actually decipher what is supposed to be there and what's not supposed to be there. The second really important part about our gut microbiome and the living organisms inside of our gut is that they act as our adaptive immunity. If you guys have ever heard that term, adaptive immunity, it basically just means that it's our gut's memory system, our memory bank. So every single time we've ever gotten sick and gotten over our illness, we accumulate this knowledge, this memory of how we fought off that particular virus or bacteria before. And our immune system and those living bacteria actually hold that memory bank. So that helps us to, claim our immunity moving forward and not get as sick as often. Or maybe we've gotten that same strain of bacteria and it's like, oh, we've seen this before. We know how to fight it off. So that's the other reason our gut is so important for our immune system. So what happens? Why, you might be asking yourself, why we're still getting sick? Like what's the deal? If we have all these living organisms, why are we still getting sick? There are a lot of, this is a nuanced question, but I'm going to do my best to answer it. One of the first points is that our diet and lifestyle, especially the American diet and lifestyle, is not conducive to keeping a diverse and robust gut microbiome. So let's talk about that a little bit. What does that mean? So our gut thrive off of certain nutrients, especially those found in really colorful vegetables, in whole grains, and all sorts of different plant-based foods. And when you hear the word probiotic, that is what they're talking about. They're talking about the organisms, the living organisms in that food that we then ingest and that populate our gut. The American diet has made it especially difficult for our gut microbiome to thrive, and I'll tell you why. The diets high in processed foods, especially in sugar, they actually limit the amount of the types and the diversity of the gut microbiota that we have. So I mentioned earlier that we need a robust we need all of them. We need certain bacteria, we need certain viruses, we need certain fungi in our system. But when we eat a diet that is high in specific types of food, like sugar, for instance, one type of bacteria might overgrow. It might just flourish on that diet, but then we're limiting the nutrients that the other bacteria and the other microbiota need to populate and survive. So we are limiting the diversity of our microbiome, which is the first issue. And we also want it to be robust. We don't just want one or two types. We want a variety of types, right? So the colorful vegetables and fruits that we have, all of those different colors that are in the foods that we eat, that are in the fresh, natural states of foods that we eat, those are called phytonutrients. And the phytonutrients that are in, and the fiber that are in the vegetables and the fruits that we're eating, that's what we want. That's what we call prebiotic. So probiotics is the actual living organisms that populate our gut, and then the prebiotic is like the food that we're feeding our gut, and we're feeding the things that are inside of our microbiome. And the more colorful, the more diverse that our foods are, the more nourishment that they get, the more ammo they have to actually populate. All the different species get what they need, which is exactly what we want. So that's number one. One of the other really important parts that I want to talk about, and this will be its own video, but just to briefly mention, there is this system that we call the gut-brain axis. And the gut-brain axis is a really important concept to understand when we're talking about gut health, because you simply cannot have a healthy gut if you don't have, if you are stressed, if you have your emotions running all over the place. Our gut and our brain talk to each other every moment of every day. They are best friends. Think about your best buddy. They are the bestest of friends. And so one of the reason I bring that up is that when we are stressed, when we have a high level of cortisol in our system, for instance, when we're really, really stressed, that actually impacts our gut. So our gut is one cell layer wall thick. It is a super thin gut. And you might, like, I always wondered, why the hell biologically is our gut so permeable? But it really is because we're absorbing nutrients on our intestines too, and we need to be able to get those nutrients in our system. But because it's so permeable, something is simple. You might have the best diet in the world. You might have, you might exercise every day. You might be the healthiest person, on paper, but then you have a really high stress job, or you're not getting the sleep that you need to recover, and your gut will be impacted. So these are important parts about gut health that you need. They aren't just things that we tout. There's lots of science behind the impact of stress, especially on our gut, and that can impact the actual microbiota in our gut, and it can make us more susceptible to leaky gut, which is again another topic. But so we want to make sure that our diet is high in fruits and vegetables, especially the more colors that you can eat, the better. We also want to make sure that we're managing our stress, and that's a harder one because we sometimes can't help this. We can't help the things, the external factors that make us stressed or emotional or what have you. But if we are giving our bodies the nutrients that it needs, at least we're controlling that part of the stress. We're not adding extra stress into our system simply by choosing the wrong types of food, or in the wrong types of quantities, if you will. Because I think that everything in moderation is okay when you're balancing your system out in other ways. The other two things that I'll mention about gut health and maintaining a healthy gut is exercise, for sure. We want to make sure that we're incorporating movement into our week. If you're not a person that works out on a daily basis, this doesn't mean that you have to be a mega athlete or do some HIIT workouts every day. That's not what I'm talking about. But incorporating some movement, walking, stretching, maybe some weights a few times a week. Find what is fun for you and incorporate that into your system, because that really does help to diversify and populate our gut microbiota as well, and to make our body strong, because our immune system requires that energy and the stamina. We need to have stamina in our system. And the other thing is sleep. I cannot tell you how much I talk about sleep with my patients. You need to sleep every night, as best as you can. And if you have struggled with getting good sleep, then we should talk one off, and we can try to figure out how to do that for you. But sleep is the time in our day that we are repairing. That is actually why we sleep. We are resting and repairing. All the cells in our body need that time to actually clear out all the dead cells that are no longer in use, shuffle them out of our system to make, and also rebuild new cells that work better. So if we are limiting the amount of sleep that we're getting every day, that certainly impacts our gut and our gut's ability to actually flush out and clear out and start fresh. So let's recap. We need to be eating lots of fruits and vegetables that are lots of different colors to get those good prebiotics that are food for our gut. Number two, we need to reduce inflammatory foods as well. So inflammatory foods can include gluten and dairy and refined sugar. Not saying that you have to cut them out entirely if that scares you at all, we can talk about that too. But reducing that, trying to find some alternatives to those types of foods will always help you. You want to make sure that you are getting regular exercise on a weekly basis, and that you're getting your sleep. And if you guys want to talk about probiotics, which again, probiotics are the actual living organisms inside of our gut that help to populate our defense mechanisms and that actually live inside of our microbiome. Let's talk about that too, because if you, not all probiotics are created equal, but it is important if you are repopulating your gut, if you're on a gut protocol, probiotics are probably going to be part of that program. And again, we can talk about this one off if you're interested, but I don't necessarily suggest that you jump into probiotics right away, especially if you are not used to eating healthfully, or if you don't already adhere to a fairly healthy diet, just because if you start inundating your system with all of these different bacteria and microbiota, it could actually have the opposite effect. You might have some diarrhea or constipation or even some anxiety. That being said, I would highly recommend, if you are wanting to help your gut out, start with these lifestyle and diet changes first, and then reach out to me and we'll talk about what kind of gut protocol to put you on, and what probiotic would work best for your system, because sometimes we need a little extra support either with the mucosa that's in our gut and also with the types of probiotic that is going to work best for your system. So I hope this was helpful and informative, and I will, like I said, I'm going to be creating a lot of different videos about gut health, but make sure you're cleaning up your diet and getting that sleep, because it will really help you to stay healthy, especially during today's day and age. So if you have any questions, message me, comment. I am here for you. Thanks for tuning in, you guys.